Hey guys, today I wanted to talk a bit about Fanuc networking. There's been a lot of questions because with everything Fanuc, things are a little bit weird. So we're here in the shop on the end shoe. This is a 31 IB. They're all pretty similar in how they behave, but your mileage may vary. But I just want to go through sort of the basic network configuration. So there's usually a couple network ports. There's either one or two. If you have a data server, there's the data server, and then there's usually the embedded Ethernet. So the way we see this is on the machine, we're gonna go to our system hard key, and then on these context buttons, we're gonna just press the plus until we get over to a menu where we see embed port, PCMCIA, and Ethernet. So what these three are the three different interfaces that Fanuc has on this machine. So to start it off, embed port is the Ethernet port that's built into the back of the machine, and that can basically just handle focus, which is the Fanuc communication parameter. Now on this, we have a data server installed, which is typically, if you have a data server installed, that's what you want to be using. That's on the Ethernet button right here. And this one right here, PCMCIA LAN, that's actually for this port right here. It's just used for maintenance, so we're not actually going to be doing any like real communication over that. So on this machine, since we have the data server installed, we're going to leave the embedded port and the PCMCIA alone. And we just want to select this interface, which is Ethernet. That's the data server. So now it's brought us into this screen where we can actually see the settings for the data server on the network. So we have a few things and a few pages. So common, that's basically where you set your IP and everything. This machine, we have it set to 10.0.2.51. So a really common question is, what IP should I set my machine to? Well, essentially it needs to be in that same range of your network on an open IP address. So an easy way to figure that out, if you're on a computer right here, this is a Mac, we can go into our settings here, and we can go to details and see our current IP address. What we care about is these first three digits, 10.0.2. That's where we want to be in, and then we need a unique number that's not on the network for the other one. So we chose 51 for this machine. Subnet mask is going to be 255.255.255.0. That means that anything else in this IP range that has the first three the same, then they can see the machine. And then DHCP client should be set to 0. That's one thing that's really important with configuring these CNC machines is when DHCP client is on, it's just gonna get an assigned IP whenever it boots up. We want it to be a static IP, so then every time that machine is on the network, your computer for FTP and chatter knows where to find it. So that's sort of thing number 2. Now we're on basic, page 1 of 2. On the next page, we have a few different things here. You can keep all these just blank at default settings generally, unless you have some real custom IT setup that requires it. Now next, what we want to talk about is Focus 2. This is the protocol that Chatter uses to actually talk to the CNC machine to get data from it over the network. The important thing here, and this is real simple to do, is to just set port number TCP to 8193. So you just type in 8193 and then hit input. Power must be off. Thank you, CNC machine. We already know that. Okay, let me get back to that screen. So from there, that covers getting the machine on the network. Now we have it set up with that one setting to be able to talk to Chatter. And then the third thing is your actual data server network screen. And this is where you're setting up how the machine is able to communicate for files over the network. So you have a few options here. You'll see we have 8 screens on here. We're at 1 through 8, and you toggle through those with page up and down. So on this data server screen, you're gonna see these connections here. It says connect 1. Now, these first few screens, we're on 1 through 8. These are for going out remotely. We can ignore these for a data server, and what we wanna do is go down all the way through connect 2, connect 3, and go to FTP server. This is what really matters. And this is really the only thing that matters if you're going to be dropping files onto the CNC machine. So we have our username set to CNC. We have our password set. That's on page 7 of 8. And then our login folder is set to NC. So then basically, if we're here and we go on the machine, we can see operation device change data server. we have this NC folder, and this is where everything that we FTP into the machine is gonna drop, and we can load it straight out of the machine. Another thing that's worth talking about is sort of network testing. So on this control here, we have the Ethernet cable, which is just dropped down from the top, routed straight into the back of the control. On some machines, they actually have like a facade, like a wire on the outside that you can plug into. It's really important with those wires to make sure they're plugged into internally the correct interface. So typically, if you have that wire on the back, the machine tool builder has routed that somewhere on the machine, and you want to pop open the back of the interface and see which of the two, and we'll throw up a graphic right here, which of the two Ethernet cables you're plugged into. If that is in the embedded and you have a data server, you want to move it over to the data server, because the data server can do everything that the embedded connection can, plus FTP. The embedded connection is limited, so we can just not use it. Once you have that set up, if you need to troubleshoot, another thing you can do, we're going back into this screen here that we were in earlier. We can hit plus again and go over to the ping window. So what the ping window allows us to do is try to communicate outward from the CNC machine to something else on the network. So we know where our router is on the network. We're going to hit page down, and this gives us a really simple interface. It's going to tell you, or it's going to ask you for an IP address and an amount of repeats. So I'm going to say I want to talk to our router. It's at 10.0.2.1, and it repeats 3 times. And then all I have to do here to actually get it to run is hit operation and then ping execute. All right, I'm going to hit page up, and I'm going to see we're talking to 10.0.2.1. We repeated 3 times, and the response was received. So that's great from this end. The other thing we want to make sure is that our computer that we're working from can actually talk to the machine. So we have this. Let's just go back for clarity here. If I can remember how to use this. We're going to go back over to common and page up, and we have this machine set to IP address 10.0.2.51. So from our computer, we want to make sure we can talk to that device. Super simple, and it's the same on Mac or PC. We're just going to run a ping command, so ping space 10.0.2.51. Hit enter, and we see we're getting responses from this machine. So now we know we have our connectivity right, and we can actually go through, and we should be able to set up via our Chatter FTP client. We just add new machine. We'll call this the enshoe 10.0.2.51. It's FTP, username, password, and now it will load up all the files on the CNC machine right here. And you can see, here, zoom back in here, we can see right here that we have all the same files as we do on our CNC machine control. So that is the, I don't know, 5-minute or so rundown of Fanuc networking. These interfaces are kind of confusing, and the ports are kind of confusing on Fanuc, so hopefully this video is helpful in helping you get your machine set up. Nice thing about Fanuc is it's very solid, so once you have the initial setup done, you're not going to have to mess with it. It's just a matter of figuring out the right ports and the right interfaces.